Cowboys Crosstalk.
Check this out.
Live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Brought to you by A#1 Air, the official HVAC and electric partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. The National Medal of Honor Museum. Join the mission at mohmuseum.org. Buffalo Wild Wings. And by SWBC Mortgage. Customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit swbc.com.
We are live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Welcome to Cowboys Crosstalk. I'm Bobby Belt from 105 through the Fan. We've got Kevin Hageland from the KNC Masterpiece on 105 through the Fan.
Hey,
Masterpiece.
We are joined, as always, by three-time Super Bowl champion and six-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton.
Yes.
And our guest this evening is national champion, three-time Super Bowl champion, and former head football coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and one of the best storytellers you're ever going to hear. This will be a great hour from that perspective as well. We got Dave Campo with us. Coach Campo, how you doing?
Yes, sir.
I'm doing great. I appreciate being on, especially with Nate. And of course, Bobby, I've known you. I've known of you. Yeah, I've known of you. This is great, and just this club alone tells you why the Dallas Cowboys should keep winning. This is it right here.
This is it.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Jerry is a visionary, that's for sure.
No question.
Everything involved with this. I was walking by the atrium and the Star coming in here, and I was just like, there's nobody's facility that looks like this. Nobody's offices looks like this. It's absolutely beautiful. Coach Campbell, you're in town this week because there is a longtime friend, associate, confidant of yours getting inducted into the Ring of Honor. Jimmy Johnson will be inducted into the Ring of Honor this Saturday against the Detroit Lions. It was announced a couple weeks back when they were in Carolina, and I knew there was no way you were going to miss this.
Yeah, well, first of all, Jimmy is kind of him as a no-nonsense kind of a guy, and a guy that doesn't necessarily like a lot of fanfare. Mm-hmm. So when he went into the Hall of Fame, he sent invitations to all of us, all the assistant coaches, and we all went. Well, this one, it's a little different scenario, so he was kind of downplaying it. But guess what? I come here with gratitude because what he did for me with this football team, the players we had that he got, and then, he deserves it. Yes. So it's a respect, and I'm looking forward to it. He deserves to be there.
You spent a lot of time with him, obviously, at the University of Miami, then here in Dallas. Nate, you played for him for several years. How gratifying is this personally for you? I know that several players have expressed just, kind of overwhelming emotion, like, hey, we're really happy he's finally getting this recognition. You know what, man? We're all walking. We can all see it, and we can all hear it. That's what I was so scared about. Even for Mr. Jones, we're all older now. This almost how many years? 30 years? Yeah. I mean, we got grown children now since this. So now this is big for me. If I had to break in the stadium, man, to jump a fence, and break my neck getting there, I was gonna get there, And lucky for me, I got a few inside contacts, so I'll be from the beginning of ceremonies to the end, man. I love this. Yeah. I love it.
Although I think that brings up a good question. Of all the people from the early 90s teams, who do you think would be most likely to be able to carry out a break into the stadium, even at this age?
I think it'd probably be what James Washington.
Maybe because he can talk his way into anything.
Yeah.
If he wasn't in an argument with me in every ball game, we weren't playing very well.
Yeah. Hide the tripods when James is around. I'm Nate. Dave, I'm curious from both of you. We've obviously seen a couple of tough losses for the Cowboys the last couple weeks on the road. There's this question about them going on the road. If Jimmy Johnson is here kind of taking a look at this football team, what do you think he's telling them this week? What do you think he's trying to correct over the last 2 weeks and saying, hey, this is unacceptable, this is what we need more of?
After he cussed Campo them out in their meetings. One thing Coach Johnson did, if this is his core guys, and once he settled on us, the biggest thing I think Coach Johnson would tell us as players, I need more mental toughness. Right. You've gotten blown out. Okay, you going to carry that, and he's not going to let us not carry that, especially coming from Buffalo. We're going to have to carry that on the plane and into the next week. Then to lose the close one, he's going to tell us, where's your mental toughness? You have to make the play. You had 3 minutes and 27 seconds left. You had a 1-point lead. We would have expected Charles, Tony Tolbert, Darren Woodson to make that play. It's mental toughness, bro. It's preparations to details. I mean,
that's what the whole key is. You know, the players win games.
yes.
Yeah.
The coaches put them in position to make the game.
Yes.
But when it's really down to it, it comes down to execution. It's how you play that day. So if anybody thinks that, we're in the playoffs now, we can kind of slide through this thing, that never would have happened with Jimmy. He cut a running back,
Curvin
Richards, for 2 fumbles in the last game, and Richards wasn't going to play in the next game. Yeah. But it sent a message. Hey, we don't do that. One of the games we played at Minnesota, I don't know if you remember, we were ahead. Yes. This is a quick one. We were ahead quite a ways. He put the second team. He said, put the second team in. We put the second team in. They scored 2 touchdowns in a row. We go in at the end of the ball game, and he is livid with rage.
Yes.
And Charles Haley was on the field, and he
I
came
was
in
walking
late.
Back in with him, boy.
He lambasted Charles. Get your butt in here.
To the point where he went at it so bad, and Charles took it. Yeah. He took it. But, boy, him and Charles walked around that corner and went into a bathroom. Yeah. And when they came out, Charles a black man. He came out redder than Jimmy. I'm like, yeah. Wow.
He used some whole new words. And he's like, I never even heard that curse word.
Wow. So, hey, it's – and I was telling you, Bobby, Coach wanted mentally tough guys that he could coach tough. The salary cap took away all of that. Because your second-team guy may not be nowhere near what your first-team guy is. Right. So you got to be careful how you handle guys. But this is where he had Haley checking us. Michael Irvin would run into the defensive huddles, telling them what they have to. It was just a different breed.
Yes.
And I'm not saying these players are not tough, because I look at the 49ers, I look at the Ravens, I look at how Philadelphia is when they're on a roll, the toughness that they have. This is what we have to develop. And I don't know if we have enough guys that's going to say, man, I'm going to make this play. It's not the great plays you make. It's the least bad plays.
Bad ones, right. Yeah.
It's funny. I was talking to Greg Ellis once a number of years back, and he was talking about that 2007 playoff game against the Giants, where they'd beaten the Giants twice that year. They fall short in the playoffs. Right, yeah. And he said that the Giants had the ball. They were driving at the end of the second quarter, and he said that it was your words ringing in his head about the importance of the end of the half, the middle 8, how critical that is. And he said he just was thinking in his head, like, DeMarcus or I have to make a play here. If we don't make a play, we're going to lose this game. They didn't make a play. Giants scored, and he thought that's where he relives and says, man, that's where I wish I could go back and make a difference, because I think, Coach Campo, Coach Zimmer, those words were ringing in my ear as I was sitting there getting ready to make a play.
We talked constantly about, the team that really wants it is going to do it in the last 2 minutes of the half and the 2 minutes of the game. I can't tell you the number of times in games where a team kicked a field goal going into halftime, and those 3 points were the difference maker in the game. And this league, every game comes down to 90% of the games come down to 2 or 3 points or 4 points or whatever, and it comes down to a last play of the last series of the game. Well,
when y'all were talking about toughness, I'm really curious. All of y'all's take on this is that was the argument for this team maybe 2 years ago as well. Is there anything in the culture here that you think does not foster that toughness with the Cowboys anymore?
I'm not. See, this is the thin line between me and Coach was talking about it. Ex-player, ex-coach, successful ex-player, ex-coach.
Yeah.
So we don't want to. I don't want to step on them over there. I don't know what their culture is. I don't know. But our quarterback did not smile.
Oh.
I had to do some of my best jokes to get Troy to even. I mean, game day was off. That was off limits. He gonna high five you. He gonna tell you to get your behind up there and get lined up. And his look, man. Michael Irvin did all the chirping
he did
around.
all the talking.
Yeah, it was just a mindset that. And I don't know who that guy is on this team.
See, I think in answer to your question is the head coach has to be consistent.
Yes, he does.
Whatever he is, he can't be Jimmy Johnson and then the next week be Wade.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The head coach has to be consistent. There has to be guys in the locker room that make what you're talking about real. And as long as there's a few guys in there that do it, and I'm hesitant because, number one, I haven't seen enough of the Cowboys. I've seen a number of games, but you just don't know what goes on in the locker room. And I thought Parsons kind of displayed a little bit of it. He's burned up about getting held, and he's ripping this guy and that guy. Maybe that's going on in the locker room, and maybe that tells this week.
When we go back to that discussion of the middle eight, though, the end of the second, the beginning of the third, and something that you, Coach Zimmer, a lot of coaches view as like a critical time during the game. The Cowboys, in all 5 of the games they've lost this year, they've lost the middle eight. They've gotten outscored in those 8 minutes. And so when you look at that, what is the remedy for that? How do you address that and say, we've got to get better about closing out halves? We've got to be better about starting halves out stronger. What is a remedy for that?
Well, first of all, it's like everything else. It's repetition. You have to practice it. If you don't practice those situations during the week, you're probably not going to get it in the game.
Right.
So that's part of it, but it's just all coaching is sales. That's what coaching is. You're selling yourself. You're selling your system. You're selling the head coach. You're selling this and that. I always on defense sold the heck out of our quarterback. Hey, look, if we get a stop here, we got a chance to score, and then we get the ball in the second half. We got a chance to double dip. So all of that is all sales. And to me, that's the key to the whole thing.
Every great coach that I've been around, and the first time I heard about the middle eight, it wasn't called that then. It was the last 2 and a half going into halftime, and it was the first 5. And I heard Coach Gibbs of the Washington Commanders. Back then they were the Redskins. Mm-hmm. But a brief period I was with them he taught this started in training camp.
Yeah.
Even whether you was the third team going out there, he would say, I need to control the ball the first 5 minutes. If we don't score, I at least want to be on their 30.
Yes. Right.
He said, we don't score, I want to eat up enough time to where they can see that we can get in their heads. Coach, you're so right. When I can drive down there, even if you stop me, that's fine. But I took those first 5 minutes, and your game plan is wrecked, especially if I have a lead. Your game plan is wrecked.
When we come back, some more specific takeaways from this Cowboys-Dolphins game this last week, and also we'll see if we can get Nate Newton and Dave Campo to tell us some good Jimmy Johnson stories. That's next on the SWBC Mortgage Cowboys Crosstalk.
to Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
At SWBC, customized solutions for individuals and businesses are just a click away. Visit swbc.com to learn more and start your next adventure. We are back here on Cowboys Crosstalk, live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. I'm Bobby Belt from 105 Through the Fan. We got Kevin Hagelin from 105 Through the Fan, six-time Pro Bowler, three-time champion Nate Newton, and former Cowboys head coach, also a three-time Super Bowl champion and a national champion, Dave Campo. So I set it up for you guys a little bit before we went to the break, and I'm curious. And we'll start with you, Coach Campo. Give us your favorite Jimmy Johnson story from those 90s teams.
Well, my favorite one was 1993, when I already told you some of the negative part of it. In the 1993, when he stepped out and said, you can put it in 3-inch letters, we're going to win this game. And I thought the response by the San Francisco coach was pretty good, but he had the brass ones. We did win.
Yeah.
Nate, what was your favorite story of Jimmy?
It's kind of long, but I'm going to tell it to you.
Hit us with it.
Okay, Michael Irvin was telling us, hey, Jimmy's coming. Jimmy's different. All of this foolishness, and Mike ain't, I'm saying it nice. All this foolishness and it's finna stop. Big New, you need to get in shape because we're going to do some 110s. And I'm like, 110s? And so that is what was stuck in my mind from the day it announced that Jimmy was coming. I'm like, I'm finna get cut. I thought I was going to get cut with Coach Landry, but I know I'm finna get cut with Coach Johnson. So this stayed on my mind so bad till about an hour before we were getting ready to run the 110s. I went to Coach Johnson. I said, Coach, cut me now. Because I'm not finna have, I'm serious. I said, Coach, I ain't finna have you cussing me out and handling me in front of all these folks. You know what I'm saying? Cut me now. He looked at me, calm down. All I need for you to do is you make what you can make and you just keep moving. So we went out there. I made 1. I made 2. I made 3. I did not make the 4th. So I looked at Coach Johnson. Coach Johnson he did this right here. So I just turned around because everybody had already took off. I just went to trotting down. About the 6th time I trotted back, they was about on their 8th, right? This kid falls out. And Kevin O'Neal and Jim Meyer and all these guys running over there. Jimmy, this guy. And all the media was out there. This guy's having an asthma attack. Jimmy said, well, get it. That's over there on the other field.
We run the asthma field.
The asthma field.
Go on the asthma field.
So I look at Coach Johnson, and he just keep running.
One of the guys that I am with on a show in Jacksonville is Leon Searcy.
Yeah.
Pro Bowl right tackle in the league for a number of years with the Steelers and with the Jacksonville when they got going.
Right.
He was with us at the University of Miami. All he talks about are the 110s.
That's it.
How bad they were and how good they were at the end.
How many we had to do? 16?
Yeah, 16 110s.
16 110s, bro.
And he always jumps on me because I was one of the guys on the line that would be yelling all the time, he didn't make it. Get your butt back. And they'd start all over. The whole group would have to start all over.
I really thought you were going to say all he ever talked about was the asthma fields. And I was like, hold on, did that carry over from place to place?
That showed. That was kind of the same as cutting the
Yeah.
guy at the end of the game, at the end of the season.
I like that you bring up the point of the put it in 3-inch headlines, we will win the ball game. So that was before the 93 NFC Championship game. That was the one that you guys had back here when Bernie Kosar had to come into the game. Big thing that occurred in that game was the tunnel fight with Pup, Kevin Smith, and Jerry Rice.
No, that happened the second time when they came to us.
Yeah, 93.
that's what he's talking about.
93.
Oh, yeah.
The 93-94 season.
That was wild.
Yeah.
And Kevin Smith had a tendency to kind of stick in Jerry Rice's head a little bit. It was something where I remember same sort of thing. 94 NFC Championship game. End of the first quarter, he knocks a ball away, and he literally just stands over Jerry Rice and starts yelling in his face.
Kevin and Larry Brown in one of those Super Bowl games pressed John Taylor and Jerry Rice like 40 out of 64 plays.
Right.
Wow.
Two young guys. I mean, really young guys. And we tell you how stupid coaches are sometimes. We played them during the season, and they beat the crap out of us here. And we were worried about Jerry in the slot. So instead of just leaving Woodson over there, we put Larry Brown in our quarter coverage. We put him over Jerry Rice. The first play, he runs a post for a touchdown. He never played it.
Right.
And that kind of got us going. And,
right.
And we were I think we were 9-0, and they were.
Yeah.
Well, they were 9-0. We were 9-1.
Right.
Whatever. But that was a great year.
Well, so Pup was always such a aggressive tone setter, things like that. Nate and Coach Campo, I'm curious. When we talk about the toughness, when we talk about that, is that the kind of attitude you're talking about? Is that kind of the edge you're talking about? You want the Kevin Smith edge. You want the James Washington edge. Is that the type of players you look? And is it something that you feel like is more needed on the defensive or the offensive side of the ball right now?
I'll let Coach speak on it, man. But I used to see Coach Johnson and Coach Campo, them first and second down, they would let you have at it. They would coach. But on that third down, they wanted their techniques. They wanted them to be perfect because that was a make it and break it down. I used to watch Campo go ballistic. We had situations out on the field. This is third down. All that grabbing and they wasn't playing that. They believed in mental toughness.
We're playing in one of the playoff games in '95, and Dion. He wasn't a great technique player.
No.
And you really have to you got to be smart enough to let him do something. You can't overcoach him, right? Well, there was some play and they ran it out, and Zimmer was on the phones, right, with me. I'm in the press box. Somebody ran it out or something. The guy completed it for a first down. It was a critical first down. Well, I went ballistic in the press box, okay,
right.
And I'm cussing Dion out. I'm saying, you tell Dion we're paying him $30 million, whatever we're paying him, and he gonna let that guy beat him on and out. And Zimmer got so upset, he took the headphone off. He said, Dion, he wants to talk to you. And Dion got out and I went, now Dion, come on now.
Yeah.
It was a completely different thing. But it was that mental toughness was important for our group.
And Nate, I know this is something that you've been really big on lately, is that you want to see some more of that edge from this football team. And so is that something you feel like, hey, I need tone setters on the defensive side of the ball more, or are you looking for it more in the trenches on the offensive side of the ball? Obviously, you want more of it on both sides, but where do you think it's most needed on this team right now?
Defensively, we one thing we never had to worry about going into a game. And I'm being honest with you. When they coached us, they were a top 5 defense for 4 or 5 straight years. One year, y'all back-to-back ones or 3.
We were 1-3 or something.
Yeah, we knew that they were going to get the ball for us and give us a short field, or they was going to get off the field at the right time. It's called situational football. And we practiced that, and we played it, and we knew that. Because Mike would be in their huddle. I'm telling you, we'd be running off the field. We done turn the ball over. We done got kicked out on the 3 and out. And Mike will be running off the field. Charles, whoever it is, Tony, get us the ball back. To the point where they be like, get that out of our huddle, But lo and behold, if not that series, the next, they was going to get us the ball back. You know how tough you have to be to look at another team like the 49ers with a Jerry Rice and a John Taylor? You're looking at Randall Cunningham and these guys. Come on, man. And you go and get the ball? We couldn't do nothing but score it in. We could, because we got to uphold our end of the deal. And this is what, and I'm telling you, you were winning a game with 3 minutes and 27 seconds left. Yeah. We wouldn't have lost that game.
It's funny. We, over at 105 Through the Fan, we got a chance to talk to Dan Quinn before the season, and one of the things I'd ask Coach Quinn is, I know physicality and toughness are a hallmark. He wants it on his defense. That's one of the when he's got the playbook and he's got the philosophy in the top, that's a bold print at the very top of it. That's what he's looking for. And I remember I'd asked him, how much do you have to identify and acquire toughness versus how much do you think you can bring it out of somebody? And so I'm curious for that, Coach Campo. Did you find how much? Because Coach Quinn said, I feel like you can maybe bring a level up. He's like, if somebody's willing, I can maybe bring you up a level. He's like, but not more than that. So he said, I'm going to need you to practice good work habits, but at the end of the day, you're just going to need to kind of have that within you. Do you think this is when it comes to physicality on the defensive side of the ball, that it's something where you've got to acquire that in people and not try to bring it out of them?
Well, first of all, I think you got to get the players that have that already. I mean, that's go and get guys.
Yes.
That's the guys you're looking for. Those kind of guys, the mentally tough guys that you can see that on the college level. I mean, the guys that are different, in that aspect.
How do you figure that out beyond just the game tape that you get to watch?
Really, first of all, the scouts do a great job, and Jimmy trusted us more than the scouts sometimes. But the scouts,
he did.
The scouts do a good job. And one of the things they talk about all the time is what's this guy's character, his game character, not just what he is off the field and all that. They do all that too, but the game character part of it, a lot of the times they come to us and say, hey, look, this guy might not look great, but he's got this special quality. And that's kind of what happened with Larry Brown when I watched him. He wanted to run the 40. He'd have run it 10 times because he knew he was faster than what he ran. That's the kind of guy that gives you a chance. And I think in answer to your question, that's the number one thing. But the second thing is we're salesmen. Mm-hmm. We have to teach the guy, whoever it is, you got to be tough in this league. You can't go from one just show up. You got to play.
I really like this conversation we're having on physicality and y'all's perspective on this. So I want to put a pin in this, and we'll come back and touch on it some more. When we come back, we will have that discussion. We'll hopefully dive in a little bit into some of the issues with execution. And Nate, I know I want to get your take. We're talking before the show. I really want to get your take on cadence and how important that is, since that's become a big talking point this week on the road. That's next on the SWBC Mortgage Cowboys Crosstalk.
to Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
Want to use what the pros use? Jack Black is the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit getjackblack.com today. This is the SWBC Mortgage Cowboys Crosstalk. We are live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. We got Kevin Hagelin from 105 through the Fan, Nate Newton, 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champion, and national champion and 3-time Super Bowl champion, Dave Campo here.
That means between all of us, we have 6 Super Bowl rings.
I know. That's like we average a ring and a half between the 4 of us. That's pretty good, you know?
Yeah.
I think that those are good numbers that I can lean on here. So, Nate, when we look at we're talking about toughness, and I'm interested for the way both of you view this. So Dallas, in a lot of ways, finds a lot of success being a finesse football team. Like the way that they're able to play with a lot of track speed and that speed on both sides of the ball. Pin your ears back and rush. On the offensive side, take advantage of the speed, and they play a finesse game. Is that something you naturally are going to lose when you are a finesse football team? And not that that's necessarily a dirty word, but being a finesse football team and the way you win that way, are you naturally going to lose some of that physicality?
I'm going to tell you something. I'll go back to the 49ers, the first time we beat them. And the second time we beat them. Mm-hmm. They weren't as physical as us, but they went out and got this kid from Florida State called Bar None, William Floyd. And he helped change the culture of who they was. And they got a little bit more physical, and Brian Young got a little bit more mature, and Dana Stubblefield came into his own, and they took it to us, man. They were just as physical. When you're a finesse fast team, you got to build it like that. And you can't try to make a guy be what he's not. You got to just make him better. I mean, he has his weaknesses, but if that's what you're trying to change, you may be in for a long day. If this team is not physical naturally, you got to find ways to help them make plays. You just got to find a way. Coach, I mean.
Well, I look at this team. They've got all the ingredients, in my opinion, okay? Dan Quinn's an outstanding coach.
Sure.
He's always been solid defensive coach, right? He takes advantage of what he's got. You get into a third down situation with this team, you're in serious trouble because he's got some guys that you're talking about that can rush. Where they have the problem is, it looks to me now, and again, I'm not there, I'm not coaching them, I'm just looking at it. They play the run, rushing the passer. So some of the stuff that you look at and you say they're not physical, it's because their scheme is based on up the field and then play the run on the move. Whereas if you got a bunch of guys like Vita Vea, the guy at the Buccaneers, that's going to take a guy on and he's going to whip his butt, you're not going to run the ball on that guy. Well, with that in mind, this team is going to win games based on playmakers. And they've got playmakers on both sides of the ball. And there's going to be some times when you look at it like this last ball game where they ran the ball on them a little bit too much. And that's just – but the physical part of it, kids are different now. Yes. I don't know exactly what you do there.
You know who used to be like that? Who used to rush the passer and tackle him on the way to get the pass? Was Minnesota back in our day.
Oh, yeah.
Minnesota had John Randall. They had another great Hall of Fame defensive end, and they was rushing that passer. And Turlink was the defensive line coach.
Yes.
Tackle them on the way to the quarterback.
Right, exactly.
And that's just how they played.
And I think that's this team here. Yeah. And then offensively in this last ball game, looking at the Dolphins, they're a little undermanned in the offensive line. They're banged up a little bit, and that's not a good combination. If you're not stopping the run, and you're banged up in the offensive line, that's not a good combination. The guys up front win the game. I mean, really, when it's all said and done.
We've had there's been a lot of discussion throughout the whole season, but it's really gotten loud the last couple weeks. The disparity between how they play at home and how they play on the road. So the fewest points they've scored at home this year is 30. On the road, the offense has not put up 30 points in a single game this year. They put up 40 against the Giants, but that was a special teams touchdown, a defensive touchdown. 33 against the Panthers, but there was a pick six. So the offense has not put up 30 in a single road game this year. But at home, that's their minimum, and they're scoring up into the mid-40s a lot of times. Nate, one of the things that's become a discussion point is maybe it's the communication between the offensive line. Maybe it's the cadence. That cadence that we've all started to hear, the here we go, White 80 said hut. And you know, it's become almost memed on the internet. But when you just break that down for people listening, the importance of the cadence and why could that potentially cause so much disruption to the quality of the offense between home and road?
It's going to take a little time now.
Hit it. We hit it early enough.
Do you want to get –
No, I want you to answer that question.
When we used to get out of the huddle fast, that didn't mean because we got out of the huddle fast we was going to run a play fast. A lot of times you want to give your quarterback a chance to survey. More importantly, you want to give your center a chance to see the 5 guys that we're going to take. Normally the 4 down guys and the 1 linebacker. Or if they're running a 3-4, the 6 guys, because when then Moose would be involved. Mm-hmm. So the coach, and that would give us, defensive offensive linemen, a chance, our center, for step nine to say, okay, we got 55 to 33. And the quarterback, okay, they got 55 to 33. So that alert the wide receiver out there that if this 33 come along with 55, it's a hot route. You break this thing off right now. So now, but the quarterback may change the play. Boom, boom, boom. He may flip it all the way to the other side. So now we're looking at 55 still, but now we got 26 over here. This receiver got to be alerted to it. This tight end, now, because we moved the power, this tight end got to be alerted to it. Clock get down about 12. Ready. Here we go. Play is in lock. It's locked now. We're not going to change it. And now you're asking a lot from your offensive line, and you're asking a lot from your receivers. And when it's loud, something can be lost in communications. But the reason I wanted Coach to go, because what Jimmy did, when we go to New Orleans, we stop with all this ready.
Yes.
We get our best 5 running plays with 2 variations off our best 5 running plays. Now, a lot of our receiving stuff stayed in place because we wasn't a West Coast offense. So what we called in the huddle, we could adjust to anything on the field. So what I'm trying to say here is sometimes you got to simplify, especially on your defense, so guys can play fast. All your players are single high with cover corners. You changed a little bit last week because of Miami and all of his speed, but this should be very easy. Now it comes down to whether your defensive linemen want a straight rush or run games. If you're running games and that tight end changes, now all of a sudden them games get a little shaky and everybody can get a little lost. But coach them, I used to hear Jimmy tell them, why don't you simplify it so our players can continue to play fast? All of these things we've heard before, but what you have to do is prepare your players for these type situations. When we used to have a loud, like New Orleans, or Seattle, even when you go on to play the Steelers, if we had to hold hands, if we had to let our center say, green, and then we'll all go 1,001, 1,002, we all move together. We practice this. Right. And you have to dedicate yourself, forget what the Players Association talking about, finding you. U.S. players got to put that extra time in. U.S. players, forget the coaches, U.S. players.
That's absolutely fantastic.
We're having the same discussion when I say we, the Jaguars, because I'm working with them down there.
We is the Cowboys. Come on.
Yeah, well, no. Believe me, I'm a Cowboy fan.
That's
you know
a good
that.
point.
But they're having the same discussion because what's happening is they've got so many checkoffs in the offense that the receivers, when we lost the 2 best receivers, all of a sudden you got young receivers out there and the crowd noise, they're busting routes. Well, they asked me, what do you do? Simplify it. Mm-hmm. Don't run those kind of things. Look at the game plan. Say, hey, look, when they're in this defense, this is 75% of the time they're in this defense. So run this play. If the 25% isn't there, then block somebody and run the same play. Don't think you have to outcoach and outfool everybody.
Jacksonville has been better than most teams they've played. The Cowboys have been better athletically than most teams they've played. Why do you have to be the smartest team in the world when you got the better athlete? line that better athlete up and let him do his job.
We had a big talk this offseason was about communication. Communication needs to improve for the team, and that was a big issue. They felt like a lot with the turnovers and everything else. That sounds to me, I think to a lot of fans, that can sound vague and broad. And Coach Campo, what does good communication mean on a football team?
It's everything, and it's an excuse. We had one down there, again, because I'm watching every game.
Right.
We had one where the defense busted stuff because the crowd was too loud for them, trying to screw up the offense, the other team's offense.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I said that's a big excuse. So you got to be kidding me. You're definitely doing too much if that's the case. Now, offense, I can understand it because you want to get out of some really bad plays. Sometimes maybe you have to do it. On defense, line up and whip the guy in front of you. It doesn't matter what they're doing. Take care of your own business. That's a big point down there right now.
I don't know what game it was, and I remember the team tried that on Jimmy. I'm saying we didn't get the call. It was yet the defense, and man, we got in that Monday, and when Jimmy got through with our defense, he didn't. This one time he didn't get the coaches. He got the players. Like, y'all don't even try this on me, and I'm being nice about it. The next week, man, we didn't blow a coverage.
Right.
We didn't blow a coverage, man, because some things you should know as a player. This is not the first time they have played a single high safety. Right. This is not the first time. Don't do that. Don't play dumb. Do your job.
When we come back here, there's obviously a game being played this weekend, this Saturday, and there is a big event taking place there we touched on a little bit. But we're going to talk a little bit more about the upcoming induction to the Ring of Honor for Jimmy Johnson and talk a little bit about this Detroit Lions football team. That's next here on the SWBC Mortgage Cowboys Crosstalk.
to Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
At SWBC, customized solutions for individuals and businesses are just a click away. Visit SWBC.com to learn more and start your next adventure. This is the SWBC Mortgage Cowboys Crosstalk. We are live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco with Kevin Hagelin from 105 Through the Fan, Nate Newton, the 6-time Pro Bowler and 3-time champion, and former Cowboys head coach Dave Campo, the national champion and the 3-time Super Bowl champion. I'm Bobby Belt from 105 Through the Fan. I have no championships, unfortunately. None.
In the
Nothing.
ratings, you do.
Well, in the ratings. I'll take those. So, Coach Campo, we've got this game coming up this week against the Lions, and obviously the big moment of inducting Jimmy Johnson into the Ring of Honor. But one of the things that I loved, I talked to you probably 7-8 years ago, and you had a great story about when you had gone and went to go watch Philippi Sparks and found something much more exciting, and then how that kind of progressed in Dallas. I'd love for you to tell that story because it's one of my favorites of all time.
Well, I went out to see Philippi Sparks, who was a corner, who ended up with us at one point later in his career, but he went to the Giants. He was a 4th-round pick. And when you go, when Jimmy sent us out, we had a list of guys. And a young man by the name of Darren Woodson was about number 6 on that list because he was a small outside linebacker. And if you remember Arizona State, they had a really good team back then. And most of the time, they ran the ball away from Darren, okay? Well, when you go to those workouts, they have a room usually. It's usually in the afternoon. So in the morning, all the scouts show up, and they have a room where they've got film going. So I'm sitting in the room with all the scouts, right? And I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at Sparks, and I hear the guys talking, and that's the first time I really started zeroing in on them. One guy's going, I don't know about this Woodson guy. He never hits anybody. He runs around, but, what's he going to play? We don't know about him. So I start watching him, and the reason he's not hitting anybody is because they're not coming to him. They're going over the other way. So I see him running. So I said, hey, let's work this guy out as a DB. So Lynn Fonts was a secondary coach for Detroit, and he was there. So I said, hey, Lynn, let's work this kid out as a DB. So we asked him. He said, yeah, absolutely. Well, we're at the 40-yard dash at the beginning of the whole thing, and I'm standing right on the line, at the end line. Here comes this guy, 6'2.5", about 218, 220.
Yes.
He comes out, and he runs a 4.3, 540. And he looked like a Mack truck coming down that line. So I said, we're definitely working this guy out. So we work him out. Physically, footwork-wise, acceleration, all those things he had. So I go back to Jimmy, and at that time, we didn't have a big, strong safety. That was one of the things that Jimmy wanted bad because the NFC East was a power league at that time. So I came back to Jimmy, and I said, hey, Jimmy, this kid, we go over every player. I said, hey, listen, this kid, I don't know if he's going to be a big interceptor, which he never ended up being, which is probably keeping him out of the Hall right now.
We're going to get to that, I promise.
Yeah, but he should be in the Hall. But anyway, I said, but the guy starts for us at nickel. This guy will support the run, and he can run with the wideouts. I said, he starts for us, and he'll be on every special teams unit. So he comes in, he starts for us at nickel. We play well. He does a good job. So that's the story we heard a little earlier. He says the second year, and he was a backup safety.
Yep, behind Thomas Everett and James Washington.
Yeah, and I didn't like to play young guys back there because that's my butt on the line back there, right? So I said to him, I said, Jimmy, Jimmy came in, he said, we're going to start Woodson at safety. And I said, okay. I said, I'm a little nervous, he hasn't done much back there. And Jimmy said, we're going to start Darren Woodson at safety. And I looked at him, I said, that's exactly what I was going to say. We're going to start Darren Woodson at safety. And the great thing about him, why he should be in the Hall,
thank you,
is two things. Number one, he played both nickel and safety in the same game. Okay, that's number one. Number two, he revolutionized
the game,
the safety position.
Thank you.
There were no cover safeties in the league at that time.
Yeah.
Everybody was a lot of 3 deep, man free, and we brought the quarter coverage in, where he was having to cover wideouts down the field as well as play them at nickel.
Yeah.
And he revolutionized the safety game. And from right now, when guys look at safeties, I guarantee you coverage is a major factor. And especially with nobody hitting anyway.
Yeah,
cover somebody.
Yeah, but it's funny. That reminds me of Darren had told the story a couple of years ago that he ran into Mike Zimmer at the Super Bowl, and Mike Zimmer told him, he was like, man, I apologize. And he's like, apologize for what? He's like, I think we're part of the reason you're out of the Hall of Fame. He's like, you were too good. We asked you to do too many things.
Absolutely.
He said you weren't able to just stick at a spot and collect stats and blow people away. And he's like, we asked you to do so many different things.
And not only that, he got everybody lined up.
Everybody.
Smart guy.
Everybody.
I mean, he did it. He really revolutionized it.
This seems like a passionate subject for you that Darren Woodson doesn't get the respect.
It's preposterous.
Yeah.
You. It's just. I didn't believe in conspiracy theories until I became a Dallas Cowboy. I didn't, because you can't sit up and talk to any guy that votes on the Hall of Fame and say, "Hey man, why are you keeping Woodson out?" Don't run the stat thing about me, no interceptions. Because half of these guys he was covering are in the Hall of Fame, and you check the records, they caught either half or a third of what they did when he was on them.
Yeah.
This don't make any sense. This don't make any sense. You did Bob Hayes in. You let this man die before you put him in there. He changed the game.
Yeah.
Every time, most of the rules that have been changed because of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And now you do this again to Woodson. I mean, let some old folks committee, and which I'm old, vote him in when he should be in. And he should have been in no later than the second ballot. Don't do this. Don't do this.
I think Rick Gosselin has tried to.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Bring him, up a number of times, and again he's in the running again. But
this
who
is
knows?
foolishness.
I'll
man.
tell you this: he's every bit as good as John Lynch.
Yes.
And I like Leroy Butler. I think Leroy Butler was a heck of a guy, but I think he's better than Butler.
We know he is. It ain't no think.
Yeah. Our colleague at 105 The Fan, and somebody you guys have both worked with professionally and at DallasCowboys.com, Brian Broaddus.
Yeah.
Brian was in Green Bay, and he will say routinely, he's like, I was with Leroy Butler. I'm telling you, Leroy Butler has no business being ahead of Darren Woodson.
Yeah, that's it.
And
I love Butler, by the way.
Brian does too.
And the one thing that Darren has that Butler has is you'd want him for your son.
Yeah.
And he came out of the toughest area of Phoenix. Most of his friends are either dead or in jail.
Wow.
And he is a character, everything that you look for. That's, to me, what a Hall of Fame guy should be. He's got to show what he can do on the field, but there's other things involved in it as well. So, hey, if I was voting, I'd be voting for him, I guarantee you.
We got just about 2 minutes left here. Nate, I know that this game this weekend against the Lions, you took notice of the safeties, how physical they play. Just in these last couple minutes, what's a key for you heading into this game against Detroit? What do you think we need to see from the Cowboys?
We're going to have to protect Dak and let Dak do his thing. There's two things that cannot happen offensively. CeeDee Lamb cannot disappear, and Tony Pollard has to get 20 touches or more. Defensively, continue to shut down the run game. Everything is predicated for Jared Goff off the run game.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, exactly the same way. I think the one thing that they have that we have to deal with, we've already been talking about it for about 2 segments, they're physical. And that's something we got to match their physicality and protect the quarterback. They can't handle Lamb when he's I've watched them a bunch. They can't handle Lamb.
I was going to jump in with that. Sometimes they say take what the defense gives you, and that's great. Sometimes you just funnel the ball to your best player and let him be your best player.
Let him make a difference. Absolutely. We got just 1 minute left. Coach Campo, for people who really enjoyed this hour and enjoyed some of the stories you told, let people know what you got going on, where they can find some of your work, because you're like a media working man, just running to the ground now.
Well, over here I am. I'm on the special edition tomorrow. I'm on Channel 11 on game day at 11 with Bill Jones, and doing some things here. Obviously, back in Jacksonville, I'm a utility infielder. I'm on about 5 of the shows at different times, so I'm enjoying that.
Just getting the most run out of you that you can. Former Cowboys head coach Dave Campo, thank you so much for joining us. Nate Newton, as always, thank you. Kevin Hagelin, thank you for your time. I'm going to clap for you, Kevin Hagelin.
Absolutely.
Cowboys and the Lions, they play Saturday night. Again, it'll be a very special evening with Jimmy Johnson going into the Ring of Honor. A lot of memories flooding back. We will talk to you again next week on the SWBC Mortgage Cowboys Crosstalk.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?